We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Hey, St. Patrick's Day's coming soon.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite holidays.
So wear your green so you don't get pinched. And see, St. Patrick's Day is kind of a thing for me because of bagpipes.
Do you think we should welcome people to the Supernatural Hour?
We'll get there. I'm talking about bagpipes and St. Patrick's Day. Welcome to the Supernatural Hour. Can I talk about bagpipes now?
If you'd like.
Seriously, welcome to the Supernatural Hour. My favorite podcast, go figure. I'm Ravyn.
I'm Rogue.
I'm Chad.
Okay, back to St. Patrick's Day. I kind of like St. Patrick's Day. We do the corned beef and cabbage. Usually dye something green.
Absolutely. Do you play the bagpipes at home?
Not on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
But usually someone hires me to go play at their home.
Oh, really?
So I'm waiting for that phone call. Might be different this year because of the whole COVID thing still going down. Some states are not wearing masks right now, but Utah, we're still stuck in pandemic.
Right.
Which is not St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
But that being said, hey, let's hop to business.
Well, how about we get you doing some bagpipes and we add that onto the YouTube station channel coming up, and you can get a little blurb of you.
Hey, nice segue going there, Rogue.
Yeah.
We have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right now, if you go to YouTube, you just have to search for the Supernatural Hour.
Supernatural Hour Podcast.
Oh, podcast. The Supernatural Hour Podcast. Because right now, our official YouTube link is one of those really long PW, capital D, XY, blah, 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 that takes forever. If we can get 100 subscribers, then we can have something cool like the Supernatural Hour.
Or Advanced Paranormal.
Or Advanced Paranormal. Or something short and easy. So go out, find it, click it.
Like, subscribe.
Oh, you know what I hate? You know what phrase I hate?
Smash that button.
Smash that subscribe. I hate that. Just push it, click it gently. You don't have to smash ours. You can just go click.
There you go.
If you have like a touch screen, you can just tap it gently. Smash. That's as bad as a pop of color. I'm so tired of a pop of color. It makes it pop.
Interesting.
Okay.
The things we've learned of Ravyn today.
I know. There you go. Has nothing to do with paranormal, but I hate smash that subscribe button. Hate that.
Just as long as you find it. It's in red. Hit that subscribe button.
Smash it. Please don't
And then
smash.
Listen to the YouTube videos, watch the YouTube videos to the end, or mostly to the end, and like, because it really helps with the analytics.
Right.
Yes.
And
hit notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload.
And share with your friends.
Please.
Yeah, a little bit of
Self-serving.
Self-serving there, but hey, whatever. That's what we do.
It's new. I'm pretty excited, and I'm happy to have this out there, and I think it's going to grow, and I think it's good for our listeners to have the opportunity to get to hear us that way and grow. And Chad does a really great job at putting videos out there and add from where we're going, so it kind of just brings you into it a little bit more.
We'll add some visuals to it.
Yeah, and please share the podcast and the YouTube stuff with your friends. We'd love to have more people listen to the podcast.
And on YouTube, you can talk to us, right?
Yes.
You can give us our messages.
There. You can comment.
So we would love to have comments.
That would be awesome.
All right. So happy St. Patrick's Day.
Well, you're green.
Wear my green? Okay, will do.
I've got my green on me.
I wore my green today.
I look like I'm out to recruit for the BYU volleyball team.
Yes, you do.
I didn't intend to have everything I'm wearing have a BYU logo on it, but here I am. So, go Cougs. If you're a Ute fan still,
I was like, I'm a Ute fan, so here we go.
Yeah, it's okay. Still.
Thank you.
So, did we have any investigations?
We did.
We did have a few investigations. We even had one here in Utah County. What a surprise that is that we came to Utah County.
We hardly ever go to Salt Lake County anymore.
I know.
We did do one.
We did. This one out here in Utah County was pretty amazing for me. I'm going to have to say that it was probably the most beautiful home I have been in while we've been doing our investigations.
It was gorgeous.
And the other thing that really stood out to me is that in that home, I don't think I have ever felt so much love. You know, usually I can feel anger or, this, I don't know, animosity. It's so thick you can cut it with a knife. But in that house, I thought the love was almost so thick you could cut it with a knife. And it was really a spectacular home and family to work with.
So I think part of the difference there is usually when we get called into a residential, it is someone that is scared by what's in their home, and they want to know what it is, why it's there, and get it out, which is understandable. And that's one reason why I love doing this, is because you can help people feel safe in their homes. This was a little different in the people were a little sensitive. It was a family, and by family, extended family. There were probably 13 people there.
Yeah.
And normally in an investigation, we will tell people, keep it down. But this was more, we're just curious.
Right.
They weren't scared of it. They weren't, it wasn't, we didn't even, we did nothing to remove anything.
The son even told us what was there and what he could see and how he was working with it.
Right. They just kind of wanted confirmation.
Yeah.
And, we're going to look at ghost hunters, and that's, just confirm what we are pretty sure we already know. And we did figure one thing out that they didn't know, and that was one of the spirits was an elemental.
Right. And I don't believe that they realized that they had an attachment to one of their paintings.
Correct. And this gentleman, it was his painting. Sometimes you can convince these spirits that, you've passed and someone else owns it. That was his painting. So we told the homeowners, we said, he thinks it's his. He's not going to share. We asked him. We literally said, will you share it? And he's like, nope, it's mine. But, we told the homeowners, it's not like he can, pack it up and take it somewhere else. So.
Right.
But I think it's cute. He just kind of sat on one end of the fireplace. And her kids later said, Mom, you need to move. And her kids are older. Mom, you need to move this. I guess she's got a rack of books. You need to move this rack of books so it's more comfortable there. And I just thought that was so sweet.
That is nice. Oh.
So.
Yeah, and it's a really lovely view. He didn't pick a horrible place to hang out and adore his painting, by all means.
I know, he's one of the few spirits that's like, I'm going to hang out where it looks good. Most of the time they're in the closet or, in the crawl space into the house. If I'm ever a spirit haunting someone's house, I'm going to find the nicest place, I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you sit on me, you sit on me. It's not going to hurt, whatever. I'm going to sit in the comfy chair with the remote.
Right, right.
I won't be able to do anything with. Well, I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I had a spirit it was an elemental actually that turned the TV on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So we also did a home recently in Salt Lake County. Is that the first one you've done since you've been with us?
No. My first with us was the Bible haunting.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's
Salt Lake County.
Ago.
October? Yeah, I've been with the group now about 6 months.
Sweet.
It's gone really fast. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that one was really interesting as well because that homeowner she was a medium, and she knew what was in her home, and again missed the elemental, which I get because elementals for me, I don't know what it is about elementals, but sometimes I completely forget about them. And it's someone else that says, do you think it could be an elemental? And I say, oh, you know what? Let's find out.
Right.
So this one, though, was really interesting because when we determined that it was finally an elemental, we were in this room, and you've probably heard me tell before on this podcast, to me, people have feels. I can feel people. I mean, I can see people, obviously, because I have eyeballs, but I more feel people than see people. And so we're all standing there, and I could see everybody in the team. There was 5 of us there that night.
There were.
And I could see all 5 people. But at one point, I said, and you can back me up because you were there, I said, who are we missing? And I think you said to me, yeah, we're all here. But one of our investigators was on the other side of the threshold. He was like out in the hall. And as soon as he walked through that threshold, it's like, oh, there you are. Even though I could see him, and he only walked forward like 2 feet.
Yeah.
And so we asked if the elemental was standing in the doorway, and it was.
Right. And that's about the same time we had all that going on. And I put the Ghost Pro meter down, and that's where you got the photo of the orb on my shoulder.
Right.
That was happening all about the same time.
Right.
And if you remember, what drew us into that room to begin with was that amazing new little thermal camera that one of the team members had brought.
Our team has access to a thermal camera, and I have some thermal camera envy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say I do as well. That brought out some really interesting corner in that room, and we verified that there was no water source.
And we thought that there might be a pipe there, and
Right.
we asked, the homeowner, and one of our team members actually went outside and did some reconnaissance, and came back in. It has video. It says no, there's not a pipe there, and she confirmed that the homeowner did.
Right, and there was a point where you were, I don't remember if you were watching through your camera, and I was watching through the thermal camera, and both of us at the same time go, oh my gosh, did you see that?
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't think we got that on video, but we got that working with the cameras.
So, from my perspective, when I look through my camera and I take pictures with flashes, I can see the tracers. And there's some places I go and I'll take 50 pictures and not see a single tracer. But this one, had a bunch of them. And one was so bright. And when it was close and probably the brightest tracer I've seen, that's when I said something like, oh, wow. And you said, did you see that? And it was just right at the same time.
Yeah, because to me it looked like there was a hand reaching out of this purple globby
Gloom.
energy thing we were seeing. Yeah, it was that was great. That was a really fun one.
Right. So that's I think I say this every time, but that was one of the more fun ones I've done. And I think for me, one of the reasons it was so fun was just realizing that if there's an elemental between me and a person, it kind of
Can block you.
can block. And I don't know if it's
Yeah.
because the elemental is absorbing it. I don't know if I just can't breathe through the elemental. I don't know. It was just really weird. But as soon as he walked through that elemental, it's like, oh, there you are. Even though my eyeballs have been looking at you for the last 2 minutes, you didn't register until
Right.
until you came through that elemental.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. And then to hear back from the homeowner and to know that, we really helped the family out.
Yeah, she said that it was the first time she'd been able to have a peaceful night's sleep in quite some time.
Yeah, a couple years, I think.
And that's why we do this. And the thing about paranormal is, in my opinion, you can't separate paranormal and religion. And people can argue with me, and that's fine. We can all have our own opinions. But it's really hard to prove anything. And everyone's going to think a little differently depending on what your religious backgrounds are. And half the stuff we do to get rid of ghosts might be a bunch of hooey. I don't know.
Right.
But regardless, I had a homeowner come through and say, you came to my house and you did stuff and I haven't been able, I've been able to sleep for the first time in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, that's cool.
it was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I mean, she's lived in that home for 20 years. So that was a good one. And so then from there, we did our public investigation. Did we have that in between? They all kind of go together, but I think our public investigation was in between those two.
Yes, I think it was. And our public investigation was at a restaurant called Dalton Steakhouse in Payson. And if you have not eaten there, you are missing out on some fabulous food. I had the filet mignon, and it was amazing. And then the second night I had the chicken, and also amazing.
Right.
So,
And their bread pudding was delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole meal. And they had a special Ghost Hunters menu for us and gave us a great price. And with the tickets and everything, it was a phenomenal value for all of the people that did the ghost hunts.
It was. And as far as investigating, It's the first time we've investigated there. So as a team, we actually went the night before. And I can't remember if she showed her face on the public night, but when we went the night before as a team, Lucy popped in for just a couple minutes.
She sure did.
And apparently her portal and the portal we found there are connected.
For those who don't know, who is Lucy?
So Lucy is, we call her Lucy the Demon Princess. And she is the guardian of a portal in the basement of the family tree in Santaquin, which is no longer there.
And that one has been on a number of national broadcasts,
It's been
like
on The Dead Files. It's been on, what's the one with Zach Baggins? I'm drawing a complete blank right now.
I don't know what his name is. Ghost Adventures.
Yes, Ghost Adventures. It's been on at least those two, and I think probably a couple more. And apparently Lucy checks on this portal. She couldn't. I mean, she only stayed for a couple minutes because she had to go back to hers. But just through the series of questioning, and the way I can tell Lucy is when Lucy's around, like when I'm in the basement of the family tree, I get like a massive headache on the right side in a certain spot. And so we were talking to the spirit that was by this portal, which is in the bathroom, and just my head started to hurt. And I just said, "Is Lucy here?" And sure enough, she was. But it's not like the family tree. We can't go and talk to Lucy apparently for hours. She popped in and just left. She was only there for about 2 or 3 minutes.
So do you think that she just popped in because you were there and she popped in to say hi to you?
Possibly.
or to see what was going on with the investigation.
See what's going on, because apparently those portals are connected,
Right.
or I don't know if they're connected, like physically connected, but I got the impression through, the few questions that we were able to ask in that short of a period of time, that it's one that she checks on. And I asked her if there were others she checked on, and she said yes, and I asked her if she would tell me where they were, and then she told me no. Rude.
Right, of course.
So there's more out there.
Well, I think we ran into another one that I don't know.
We'll have to check that one out. We've got an investigation coming up in June, which we'll talk more about. That's a possibility. So when we go there, we'll have to. Anyway, but.
So I was wondering, is she just getting bored at the family tree because there's nothing going on there? So
she might be, because after that investigation, Chad and I drove over to Family Tree because it's not that much further. It's like another 5 miles away. And the building that the family tree is in there's no signage.
Of any kind.
Of any kind, not even a for sale sign going on. So I don't know what's going up with that. I'll have to ask around with some people that would know. But yeah, part of me wonders if she's just bored. Hey, people aren't coming and talking to me anymore, so I'm going to perk my ears up.
And if nobody's buying it, it's just sitting there, then why wouldn't somebody let us just come in and do some investigating?
That might be. Well, I think part of it is you don't want to set up something and then have a buyer come through and then we have to cancel.
Yeah.
But
yeah, interesting.
So the Lucy thing, we'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah.
She was always fun to go chat with. Other than the piercing headache that she gives me. Okay. Right, so yeah, if you missed Dalton's, we are definitely going to do it again. We're looking at maybe something around Halloween time.
Oh, really?
Because it was fun, and the owners had some fun ideas to do kind of some Halloween stuff. So we'll keep you updated.
And they were really into it, and they had experienced, staff and everybody there had experienced paranormal. We hadn't, been there before, and they started talking about some of the different things that they had experienced.
Yeah. So they have a Type 3 that guards that portal, and it's a lot small. I don't want people going, oh, they're just, they found Lucy. It's a much smaller portal. Not nearly as it was a very active venue, but the staff had already named that spirit Bridget.
Bridget. So is that the Type 3? Is that Bridget?
Yeah, and she's actually whispered her name. She's named herself.
Oh, okay.
Because people there, the staff have heard her name.
Right.
Or at least she's given them a name.
Yeah, that's the name
to use. It may not be her name, but
right.
That's the name she's given.
We're like, Bridget, we can remember that.
Well, in my group, and thanks to my group, thank you for hanging out with me, my first time being out there, your patience. But I did have a gentleman in my group who felt like he was getting spiritually attacked. we had to get the obsidian out for him, the selenite, and
And we
it was
had
pretty active for that.
and we had one gal that was getting attacked pretty severely, and she had to go home.
Yeah, she
She
didn't
wasn't
even make it.
able to stay. And I think she was being attacked. There was another spirit that was pretty dark.
And this, the gentleman that was on my team, that happened at the same table where she was at, because of course when that happened to her, then we all had to go sit at that table to, see what would happen to us.
Right. And that table shared a wall with the salon that's right next door. We have actually investigated there about 4-ish years ago.
Probably 3 years ago.
3-4 years ago. And they had a pretty dark entity there too. And as we discussed in the presentation that we usually do for our public investigations, Payson is a very, very active city, especially in that older part, which is where we were. It was kind of more in the I kind of made the joke that everything historical happened within about 2 blocks of that restaurant. That's really not too far-fetched. Very active, very, a lot of Native American activity going on there.
The Black Hawk War, a lot of
the
that.
Black Hawk War. Now we're going to have listeners that say the Black Hawk War was in the Midwest. Yes, there was actually 2 Black Hawk Wars. There was one in the Midwest and then one in like the Sanpete, Utah.
Southern Utah
County-ish area.
And Dalton's has a nice memorial up for some soldiers. Do you want to talk about one of those special soldiers?
One's my grandpa.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Payson originally. So I walked into Dalton's about 1.5 years ago. And the first picture I saw, I'm like, hey, I know him. And they kept that there. They put the new on there. They've just moved it.
So that's pretty special. So that wall right there, so it touches the salon. It has the memorial. I just think there's a lot going on in that one little corner.
Right.
Yeah, and then they have the table place setting for the fallen soldiers.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right there too, which I thought was very.
Could be very much a trigger area for any spirits that were soldiers. So I kind of got off track on I believe it's a type 3. I didn't get a chance to talk to it because my group didn't get to go back in the kitchen as much. But I think it's the same entity that was in the little office the night before. But it's a male, very dark. It's either a very, very dark type 2 or a type 3. But I think it was Bridget, for being a type 3, was awful playful.
We were told that there was a couple of kids. It felt like there were kids that were bouncing around and playing around in there.
Oh. And speaking of bouncing around, I'm going to bounce back to Bridget. She's actually really playful unless you call her a snake, and then she gets really dark and ugly.
Oh.
Because we had the grid on kind of in her area.
The laser grid?
The laser grid, and I was, trying to get her to make it wiggle, and she did really down low, just like the bottom couple inches. I'm like, how come you're just making a couple inches wiggle? Are you a snake? And then, yeah.
She didn't like that?
No, she didn't like that at all. Oddly enough.
Okay.
That actually kind of pissed her off a little. And then she made a big wiggle in the thing. It's like, there you go.
Oh.
You go, girl.
So she can get a little hot under the collar if you.
Interesting. I'll have to remember that next time we go out. I didn't have anything like that.
So the darker guy that was in the kitchen the second night, but the office the first night, we named him.
I don't
know. Ricky?
Yes, Desi.
Desi. We named him Desi.
And why?
Because Desi and Lucy, even though Lucy was only there for 2 minutes.
And
I didn't pick this name. Someone else came up with it. Wasn't me.
Okay. That's scary.
They named him Desi. But Desi's very dark, very brooding. It's a good venue. So if we haven't enticed you to come yet, I don't know what else we can do. It's
the food alone entices me.
Yeah, we'll definitely be going there again.
Sounds good. I like that.
Okay. Well, we do want to talk a little bit about, and I want to thank Rogue for helping us set up. We have set up a shop on our Advanced Paranormal page where you can buy products, sage sprays, sage and lavender, just different products. We've got salt, we've got all sorts of things. So go out and take a look at it. Purchase your paranormal supplies from the Advanced Paranormal shop. Click on that, and you can get everything's all working in there, and Rogue helped me get that set up, and I appreciate her help and patience with us on that.
So if you have any questions about anything that's out there, any of the products, if there's anything that you would like to see us have, create, carry, we would love your feedback.
So one of our upcoming businesses is in April, the end of April. I think I've got it as the 24th going on our calendar. Should be a Saturday.
For your Mercur Cemetery thing?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the 24th.
We are going to go out
Of May?
to Mercur Cemetery of April.
Of April? Okay.
And if you haven't been out there recently, it gets wiggly. All the little fences around the headstones are starting to get somewhere. And you can tell that some group has gone out probably in the last 30-ish years or so. I mean, it might be sooner. If you're the one that did it, sorry, I'm not trying to take any steam away from you, but you can tell that someone's gone out there and refurbished it. But it needs to be refurbished again. And by refurbished, we just want to stand everything up so it's not wiggly and falling over. There's a few slats that are missing because some people, and I'll use that word very lightly, thought it would be an awesome idea to tear the slats off and burn them in a fire.
Oh.
And yeah, we actually found, we went with
A fire pit.
and the slats were in there all burned and charred. We took pictures and sent it to the Twilla County Sheriff anyway. So we're going to go out there and just replace the missing slats, shore everything up. These same people decided, because not all, if you've never been out there, there's 22
Plots.
that have these fencing around it. And then there's dozens and dozens. There's about 100 people buried there, but then there's dozens more that just have circles of stones around it. And one of our investigators, when we were there last, said, come look at this. And someone had tried to dig up one of them. And so it's like partially dug up. And
There are some pictures. If you go out to advancedparanormal.com and go to the past events, you can go down to the Mercur Cemetery, and there are some pictures of the plots with the gravestones or the fences around and things like that. So it's really interesting. So.
Right. So we have a little fundraiser. We've got a GoFundMe kicking around on Facebook. I've got it on the Facebook pages for WISPs and the Facebook page for Advanced Paranormal. So if you're listening to this and would like to help restore the dignity and the historical significance of the cemetery, please go and just donate a little bit. Every little bit counts. $5, $10, that would be awesome. We just need to get some cement and some slats and just, some other little sundries to help preserve this and keep it going for hopefully another 100 years.
Perfect. I look forward to being a part of that.
So, yeah, just hop on Facebook, go to Wasatch Investigative Society of Paranormal Studies or Advanced Paranormal Services. Just search for those on Facebook.
Yeah, and if you go to advancedparanormal.com and go to our events, it's actually listed as event, and it's free. The actual service project is free, and we have unlimited tickets, but it will help us to know how many people are coming. But we encourage you to go out and sign up and come out to Mercur Cemetery.
Bring your shovels, gloves, water. There's no water, so if we mix up cement, we're going to have to haul it ourselves. So if you come out, you have to bring 3 or 4 gallons of water. That's your ticket. If you don't have water, you got to go into the toilet and get some.
Bring your kids, bring your friends. This is a wide open service project, and we're looking forward to doing some good work here.
Right. Chad, you had a bucket list item for today.
Yeah, my paranormal bucket list. There is a old home in Dedham, Massachusetts called the Fairbanks House. And the Fairbanks House is the nation's oldest surviving timber frame house, and therefore the oldest haunted house in North America. It was built between 1637 and 1641 by English settlers Jonathan and Grace Fairbanks. It's 21 miles from Boston. Jonathan was born in 1593 in England, in Yorkshire, England, and he immigrated to America in 1617 at Halifax and moved his family to Boston about 1633 to 35, and then they permanently moved to Dedham in 1636 when he started construction on the home, which, like as we said, was The dates of the home are 1637 to 1641, so it's a really, really old home.
And hasn't it stayed in the Fairbanks family this whole time?
Yes, it has. It's kind of interesting.
And you're leaving out the little tidbit that...
We're getting there.
Oh, okay.
We're getting there. You're jumping the gun.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's Jonathan Fairbanks is also my 9th great-grandfather, so I find this kind of interesting.
So we could go there and talk to your family.
I know. Wouldn't that be cool? See what's going on there. Yeah, 8 generations of the Fairbanks family lived into the house until 1904, and it stayed within the family the whole time. It never left the Fairbanks family in all that time, and it was never really updated. I mean, they brought electricity in, but it's never really changed much. They added to it over the years as they needed to, but it's just as it was in the early colonial days. And over the centuries, there have been many deaths in the house. Even there's been a shocking murder that happened on the property.
A murder in the Fairbanks
A
house.
shocking one?
Yes.
As opposed to those non-shocking
No,
murders. in
well,
houses.
I guess it didn't.
The standard murder, yeah, normal.
Just the unshocking murder.
So in 1801, one of the Fairbanks sons, Jason, was convicted of killing his girlfriend, Elizabeth Fowles, in the nearby pasture. She had apparently spurned his marriage proposal. So, if you propose to someone and they don't go for it, just kill them.
You can just knock them
She
off.
probably had a good reason to say no.
Yeah, well, maybe if you're going to kill them, that's... Anyway.
She probably had the feels and thought, this is not a good guy. What kind of people are you related to?
Yeah, she spurned his marriage proposal, and he was hanged from the gallows in Dedham Commons in one of the most sensational murder cases of the time. So there's that. So we've got murder over,
We got a murder and a hanging.
and some just normal run-of-the-mills wake-up-dead kind of things.
Okay, so if we ever are back in Boston, we need to try to go ghost hunting there.
And ghosts, they love the drama.
They love drama. It's really good. Some of the directors of the Fairbanks Museum said some of the activity they've had is there's a doorbell that rings, and they said 1 million times. The doorbell goes off all the time. Flashlights never work. Claims of hearing children laughing and disembodied footsteps on the stairs when there's no one there. Tourists' cameras often stop working. The newly installed alarm system went off every night for several weeks, with the alarm company unable to discover what was the problem or what the explanation was of why it went off. So there was a lot of different things. There's a group called TAPS. They're the Atlantic Paranormal Society, which they're fairly well known. They were called in to investigate, and they captured evidence that supports the claims of these employees. It said, we heard footsteps in the beginning, up to where the children used to sleep. They recorded some sounds. They thought it was kids because they got some laughter on the recordings. And the team leader, Tracy Baselli, described this outing as awesome. We had lots of knocking and moving sounds. My take is that there is some paranormal activity in the house, she added. Leslie Haney, one of the house's tour guides, who was raised in the Dedham, said that it's hard to keep flashlights working there. If there are any spirits out there, they're good spirits, she said, and there's nothing bad, and we're happy that they're happy spirits. And the Fairbanks Homes is the oldest haunted home in North America.
Oh, cool.
So I'd both from the family connection and the haunting connection, I'd really be interested in going and doing that. That's why that's on my bucket list.
Well, that would be a cool one to go to. In our paranormal junk drawer, there's a whole series of stories about dolls that age. Have you guys heard of these dolls that age?
No, but it sounds terrifying.
They kind of are. I actually have a couple of stories, and we might do this as a podcast.
It's a full-blown episode.
Full-blown episode down the road, which, I mean, all of those ones can eventually. But this one might be up there sooner than later. But this is called the Okiku doll. And if you speak Japanese, and I've mispronounced that, my apologies, because I do not speak Japanese. But this is a story of the Suzuki family in 1938. And they had this doll. And it was an aging doll. And its hair would grow. And they believed that their daughter's spirit actually lived inside this doll. They had a daughter that passed. And so they didn't want to throw it away. But it kind of creeped them out because the doll's hair grows. And it ages. It gets wrinkly. And so instead of throwing it away, they took it to Menenji Temple. And this Menenji Temple is in Iwamsuzawa, Japan. I am sorry. If if you're from Japan or speak Japanese, I know Hokkaido. It's in Iwamizawa, Hokkaido, Japan. And when they took this doll to the temple and they talked to the priest there and they said, okay, this is what's up with this doll. Our daughter lives in it. Her spirit lives in it. Its hair grows. It gets old. And he's like, all right, I'll take it.
He's just going to buy it? He's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, he's like, yeah,
Sure.
I'll take it. Sounds legit. And he was able to see for himself that this doll's hair grew. And so trimming this doll's hair became a regular chore at the temple. It's like, hey, priest, dude.
Somebody go cut the doll's hair.
It's your turn to go cut the hair. And it's like, is that the job you got if you were the bad, priest of the week?
The low guy on the totem pole.
You didn't do your job. You had to go cut the creepy doll's hair. I don't know.
Sounds like an item you could buy at that store in the movie Gremlins.
I
When
know.
they come home with Gizmo. Yeah.
Yeah,
Creepy
dolls
hair-growing, aging dolls.
exactly. So what they would do is they actually take pictures of this doll, and she's in kind of like this little shrine, in a box. There's a shrine around her, and there's pictures of her with different lengths of hair, kind of as proof. And it's kind of it's a modest wooden box that she's in, and no matter how much it trims, it keeps growing. And it's actually become kind of famous in Japan, and it's been featured in novels and films and plays in the region. And, like anything, like Hollywood, it gets expanded and dramatized, to get scarier and spookier. And they've added things like the doll giggles and sobs and wails and walks around, which wasn't actually reported by the family. The family just said it aged, kind of got wrinklier in the face, and that the hair grew. And so it's not really sure what's going on with this doll. No one can really explain how the hair grows. They tried to say, is this a hoax? And they've actually taken this doll and analyzed it, and they said that the hair they cut off of it is indeed human hair, and they can't figure out why. I mean, you can tell that it's, they have videos and everything of them actually cutting the hair, so they don't know if it's some trick. They don't know if it's some hoax. They don't know if it's supernatural, but it's definitely a super creepy doll, and it's not the only one out there. There's other creepy dolls. We'll talk more about those other days. But there you go. The Okiku aging doll.
Very interesting. So, in closing, let's talk about our Supernatural Hour swag. We can get that at our app's website, the Advanced Paranormal website. Go to the merchandise tab, and you can get to TeePublic from there, and you can get cool Supernatural Hour swag, mugs, cups, shirts.
Hoodies, tapestries.
I got a bumper sticker.
You got the bumper sticker?
And a shirt, yep. And I already
sweet.
mentioned the mug, I think, in the last podcast.
Yeah. Very
So
cool.
I am rolling in Supernatural Hour swag now.
So go on out and get your Supernatural Hour paraphernalia. It's kind of fun to have. We enjoy seeing it around.
Stay spooky, my haunty friends.
I love you, Nicholas.
Good night. Have a good one.
Hey, good night.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright 2021 by Advanced Paranormal Services.